Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakah Kadash, double honors, the elders and apostles, a great millstone, who are teaching this truth with sincerity. And shout out to your Akim out there on the four corners of the earth proclaiming this truth. Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakah Kadash, Barak Done. So here we are, man. You know, more pickup in the what we know as the bottomless pit, the EU, and their proxy war against Magog.
Let's discuss this live now with Major General A.K. Siraj, former head of India's territorial army, joining us now from New Delhi. Many thanks for joining us today. It's very good to see you. So, some very concerning developments. The Russian Defense Ministry has promised to take harsh measures if Kiev attempts to provoke a nuclear disaster. What steps do you think Moscow might take?
No doubt about it. As far as the Moscow is concerned, they are very clear that possibly the Ukraine, with the help of the Western powers, is trying to destroy or damage a nuclear plant at Kursk, so that they can thereafter blame the Ukraine only that this has been done by them, and then they can take revenge on other nuclear plants which are in Ukraine. Now, this is the thought process what the Russians are saying. But this is very much possible. They seem that the way the Ukraine has come deep inside Russia, almost about 18 kilometers in Kursk. They have also destroyed the bridge which is connecting with the mainland, so that the logistics supply cannot come. So it looks to me that the allegation which is now put by Russia on Ukraine can be possible that this nuclear power plant may be destroyed by Ukraine forces with the help of the Western powers, maybe with a dirty bomb, and then blame the Russian for doing what they have done it, so that the Russian can strike on the Ukraine nuclear plant as a revenge. This is very much possible, but possibly what Russia is going to do it, I suppose one is that it is bringing out this issue in the world phenomena. It is telling to the whole world body, especially to United Nations. There is a UN resolution of 13th April 2005 on the suppression of acts of nuclear terrorism. In case if Ukraine does such type of act, it is against basically the forum of this act which was of 13th April 2005. So they are trying to build up a pressure from the world body that in case the Ukraine try to damage the nuclear plant, it will create a catastrophe in the southern part of Russia, also in certain parts of Ukraine, and this is against the humanity. So they are trying to bring out this point, possibly for the Western world also, to the American also, to see this, that such an action is very irresponsible against the humanity. In case they do it, this will be catastrophe in the whole environment.
So false flag nuclear attack coming.
It's not just a dangerous game to be playing, but it reeks of desperation, in my opinion. Russia did previously state that it would use all weapons at its disposal if it deems the threat to be sufficiently high. Why would Kiev risk this?
The point, your point is very clear. See, as far as after what has happened in Russia-Ukraine war, Russia now controlled almost 18% of the Ukraine territory. Whether it is a Donbas area, Zaporizhia, Kherson, the Crimea, they have already taken in 2014. Now, the point which is coming is that the Russian forces were in offensive slowly and steadily. They were progressing in the western portion of Ukraine, and to countermeasure that, they have done what they have done. That this is after they have got a lot of weapon system from Europe and Western Europe as well as US. That is your Abraham tank, Challenger, and also Leopard tank, F-16, and also the Hauser. So it is a counter-offensive which has been launched by the Ukraine, and now they are trying to put the Russia on backward by trying to destroy this nuclear power plant in Kursk and blame Russia for doing this, and so that Russia can strike back on Ukraine. I suppose Russia is trying to take a safety measure. They have one of the best air defense system in the world with S-500 and S-400. They will try to protect the nuclear power plant of Kursk, but certainly they have exposed Ukraine to the whole world, that what Ukraine can do with the support of the Western powers and the US. What is the allegation which has been put by Russian? There is a counter allegation put by Ukraine. What is the ground reality? What is the fact? What is the truth? May not able to come out, but certainly it is a dangerous situation. In case anything happened to a nuclear power plant, this can create a catastrophe in the whole area. Remember that this nuclear plant gives 60% of the power to the southern portion of Russia.
We can only hope that common sense will prevail in this situation. Many thanks for speaking to us today. Major General A.K. Siraj, former head of India's territorial army. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
So, like everything else, though, as you know, in this proxy war Ukraine, they have been deliberately targeting the nuclear power plant. Slovakia, I didn't ask for that. So here we go. Russia media claims Ukraine preparing dirty nuke attack. Kiev refutes these false reports. They're saying, but they've been targeting this nuclear power plant for some time. Russia state media outlets are sounding the alarm that overnight hours alleging Ukraine forces are preparing to strike Russia-occupied nuclear power plant in Endor and the Kursk nuclear power plant in Russia with radioactive warheads in an attempt to create a false flag and blame Moscow. Conversely, the Kiev Independent quickly brushed off these claims as totally baseless. The situation unfolding in Eastern Europe underlines the growing uncertainty and chaos thickening in the fog of war as tensions escalate. So, like everything else, though, that's what's being talked about, that they may deliberately target both of those nuclear power plants, causing major catastrophe in an attempt to say that Russia did it. So that's a false flag coming up. But here's what's going on in this fucked up state, right? And how it affects Reading. Kevin Cry responds to fuck Newsom's new executive order towards homelessness, as this report goes into. Because remember, homeless just simply means, those that, we know that for refusing the MOTB that we're going to end up in that category. So you see, that's not too distant from now from all of us that are resistant to this new world order, that don't want the new, what do you call that, central bank digital currency, that don't want to get it. Well, a lot of us are going to just end up as refugees, right? Because that's another term for it, right? Because refugee and homeless almost means the same thing.
Governor Newsom recently issued an executive order urging local governments to address illegal campers as well as provide care and supportive services for them. He's threatening to pull back money to counties that don't produce results. The North States News' Sophia Bruinsma spoke with a supervisor about how that might look in Shasta County.
I mean, it's great to see.
And I can already see what's happening here.
That's not what we're really used to.
Since Governor Newsom took office
These people
in
are liars,
2019,
as you know.
the state has spent over $67 billion to address homelessness and add affordable housing.
Bullshit.
We're done with the excuses. And the last big excuse was, well, the courts are saying we can't do anything. Well, that's no longer the case. So we had a simple executive order. Do your job.
The Supreme Court ruled last month that local governments can
Coming down having great wrath, knowing that the time is short.
Prompting Shasta County District 1 Supervisor Kevin Cry to start talking about what that looks like locally.
So what I did was I met with Sheriff Johnson and I met with Melissa Fowler-Bradley from the courts.
Now, they had a recall election not too long ago, and he survived that.
Really getting to the
Yeah,
root
you know his
cause
true horns.
of in our county with crime and prosecutions and the jail.
Yeah, it's a crime to be homeless now. It's been a crime for some time.
Where are some areas for improvement?
Cry says the answer to homelessness is more complex than just housing.
But somebody else
Yeah, you
may
gotta
have severe
crack down
mental
on
health
this
problems,
shit.
or may have massive substance abuse problems. So you can't treat one size that fits all.
Cry also says that he's seen a positive change locally in the last few months.
Yeah,
Credit
because
law enforcement.
all these tents are
I'm happy
disappearing.
to say that the efforts of RPD, I can tell, are starting
Fuck
to work.
RPD.
And I think they're doing it in a very humane way.
What a
Because at the end of
liar.
the day, nobody wants to see people living on the street.
There ain't nothing
or
fucking humane
in,
about RPD.
encampments where there's no running water.
And then when you're seeing improvements,
Because they locked the fucking bathrooms. These fuckers are such liars.
Think is working.
Well, what I know is working is I'm seeing, or I'm getting feedback that there's more people going to Visions of the Cross. And I'm
What a
connecting with
fucking
individuals that
liar.
I've seen in the roughly 2.5 years that I've either been campaigning or in office, that I see people's lives getting changed.
Yeah, they're getting changed, all right.
Done in the county with the budget.
This
and
devil's coming down
personnel
having great wrath.
Reporting in Reading, Sophia Bruinsma, the North States News.
Around 10 people graduated the Good News Rescue Mission's recovery program this evening.
And that's just it. Most of your homeless that are out there, well, what they don't tell you about the Good News Rescue Mission is that it's already full. That's a homeless shelter, by the way. And those things have been full for some time. So, what you have is others that don't quite get in their little fucking program, right? So you got the state fucking coming down on your ass. California State Association of Counties respond to the threats of funding cuts to local government. in response to remarks made by a fucking governor threatening to cut local government funding for clearing homeless encampments aggressively enough, the California State Association of Counties issued the following statement. California counties are and all have been doing very hard work harassing the homeless. Day in, day out, we are on the front lines harassing homeless, providing treatment and care. Fucking care? You're fucking arresting these people, and then you're releasing, catch and release, catch and release. Send them back out there. Say, well, don't let me catch you coming around here again. You know, we'll clear your shit out. And then they go and they, of course, you know, they clear out the shopping carts and the tents and all that, but they just put them back to being homeless again. Their need to withhold funding is not a solution, as it only jeopardizes the progress we made. Oh, they made so much progress. It simply ensures for more residents to remain homeless. To effect, real change, sustained and coordinated efforts are supported across all levels of government are needed. Yep, support your local government. Right, coming to a town near you, if it hasn't already. So you can see that this devil coming down having great rap, knowing that their time is short. Because let's just say it, their seed is spoiled, right? Their seed is spoiled, and there is none. Trump pledges support for Israeli state's war of terror. That's what it is. The Zionist state must win fast against Hamas, former President Trump insisted. U.S. Republican presidential nominee said he will support the Israelis in their war against Palestinians if he reclaims the White House in November. Former president was speaking in a press conference on Thursday at his golf club in Bedminster, you know, because these Zionists really play for his golf, because let's face it, they're the ones that bailed them out. You know, the Rothschilds bailed them out years ago. Lashed out his Democratic opponent, Harris, for always demanding ceasefire. When I'm back in the Oval Office, I will suppose the Israeli state's right to win its war of terror. They have the right to win the war, he said. If Harris wins the election, the radical left-wing burners and Hamas sympathizers will not just be causing chaos on the streets, they will be running U.S. foreign policy in the White House. An Israeli state will be God, Trump argued. So you see this shit show. Both of them support the Zionist entity, you know, the one that creates all the wars, aka known as Amalek, you know, which you know about Gomer and all his bands. Yeah, the Khazarians, yeah, those are all Amalekites. Walz's administration gave $2 million to charity linked to Al-Qaeda. Oh, ISIS, you mean? Yeah, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, they're all the same. State of Minnesota paid $2 million to the group linked to ISIS, or better known as the Al-Nusra Front, whichever ones you want to call them, right? They keep changing the name. Walz faced persistent criticism about his links to radical Islam. Yeah, so all Muslims are ISIS? No, Esau created ISIS for the, you know, to throw the narrative that you know, radical Islamists are causing all the terrorism. Not the Zionists who call themselves Jews. No, just the radical Islamists. You know, that's the narrative. You know, but of course we know what their potential claims of stolen valor, right? State of Minnesota Governor under Walz gave grant of $2 million to charity linked with Al-Qaeda, according to explosive reporting from the Washington Examiner. So, like everything else, though, we know that they also have this coming out, right? That Terminator becoming a reality. This is interesting. You know, I just found this, so we'll just play a little bit of this.
Watching the Russians use tanks to destroy apartment buildings with little old ladies and kids just drove me crazy. So I decided to work on a company with your friend Sebastian Thrun and as a
yeah, they're known as drone strikes.
And a whole bunch of Stanford people.
But it ain't the Russians that are doing it.
The idea basically is to do two things.
That are doing it.
Use AI in complicated, powerful ways for these essentially robotic war. And the second one is to lower the cost of the robots.
They did it to destroy Libya.
Why would a good liberal like me do that? And the answer is that the whole theory of armies is tanks, artillery, and mortar, and we can eliminate all of them. And we can make the penalty for invading a country, at least by land, essentially be impossible. It should eliminate the kind of land battles.
And these drones will also be used to tell if you got the you-know-what. They are going to use that AI intelligence to tell if you got it or you don't got it. That's what's coming. But, you know, of course it's going to be used in the battlefield. Why not? Israeli state expects the U.S. and other allies to help bomb Iran. You see, when Iran makes its counter against the Israeli state, there's a ploy to go to war with Iran. That's why all those ships are moving in. The men of war are drawing near. Israeli foreign minister urged his British and French counterparts to publicly clarify their commitment. Israeli foreign minister said his country expects not only the U.S. but also its allies, Britain and France, to assist in the offensive against Iran in the event of direct conflict, which basically means their retaliation for, you know, going into their capital, Tehran, to bomb a Hamas leader, right? So now they're getting a coalition of military. You know, kind of like what they did when they took down Saddam Hussein. They're trying to do the same with Iran. They always wanted a war with Iran. Koss made the comments during meeting with British Foreign Secretary Lemmy and French Foreign Minister Stephanie Seddon in Jerusalem on Friday, according to a Hebrew language settlement from his office. Israeli state expects France and Britain to publicly clarify to Iran that it's unacceptable for it to attack the Israeli state, and that if Iran attacks, the U.S.-led coalition will join the Israeli state not only in defense but also in an attack against the significant targets in Iran, the statement said, as cited by the Times of the Israeli state. So there it is. The least a flock shall draw everyone in. You see how much closer this is. But there's still one prophecy that has to take place before this goes out, but you can see how close this is. Hezbollah unveils new missile facility, warns Israeli state of unexpected destiny. See, because Hezbollah really hasn't retaliated for the assassination that was carried out in their capital, Beirut, either. You know, so both Tehran and Beirut really haven't responded. Of course, they want revenge for what happened. So if this gets taken down off of YouTube, there's a longer version in the description box on where to find it. Because you know how the Zionists love to take down anything that goes against their narrative. We already know who started the war. And you know this is all propaganda to make Lebanon look like the bad guys. But these are the lengths that the Israeli state will go through just to say, oh, well, we got to disable their targets, like they did when they went after Iraq. Because everybody knows that Desert Storm was their war against Iraq because they didn't destroy Iran. After all, 8 years of the Iran-Iraq war, which was all sponsored by the Israeli state, but Saddam Hussein didn't finish them. That's why Saddam Hussein was taken out of power. Yeah, see, that's the kind of shit that might get my video taken down. So if it does, you know where to find me. I've been on Odysee, BitChute, and Rumble for quite some time. Links down below. Just saying. Yeah, see the amping and all that. That's just... it's all propaganda. All meant to scare you into thinking, oh no, Israeli state's going to be attacked.
وذاكة المقاومة تملك من الصواريخ الدقيقة وغير الدقيقة ومن الإمكانيات التسليحية ما إذا فرضت إسرائيل على لبنان حربا ستواجه إسرائيل مسيرا وواقعا لم تتوقعه في يوم من الأيام. المعركة أمامنا شعاعها على طول فلسطين المحتلة من الحدود اللبنانية إلى الحدود الأردنية إلى البحر الأحمر من كويت.
Noise of their fall was heard in the Red Sea. What do you think that's talking about? Eventually the Zionist state, better known as the Israeli state, will be destroyed. Like everything else though, this video here I would not be able to show on this portion of YouTube, so stay tuned for the longer version or go over to Rumble, Odysee, and BitChute, and this video probably will go down anyways for just that little bit there, because again, that goes against the Zionist state of Israel. You know, the Israeli state in Levant, ISIL, but you can see very much so, and yeah, this sounds like a broken record, but you can see that they're trying to draw everybody into this war, right? And this devil coming down having great wrath, because they know that they have that short time. Jeremiah chapter 49 verse 20. Therefore hear the counsel of the Most High that he had taken against Edom and his purposes, that he had purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. Because Tel Aviv, the Zionist state, is going to be wiped out as well. Verse 21. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall. At the cry the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. And that's referring to when the Zionist state is taken out, as well as Basra itself. Who is Basra now? Well, that's another code word for Babylon the Great. Behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle, and spread his wings over Basra. Well, who's that? That's the weapons of his indignation, and that's the chariots of the real Israelites, you know, aka Yahushai. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. You know, and that's when Yahushai gathers his elect there. And at that same time, Damascus becomes confounded. Concerning Damascus, Hamath is confounded, and Arpad, for they have heard evil tidings. They are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the sea. It cannot be quiet. Because the Israeli state at that point is going to bomb Damascus, going to take Damascus out. Damascus is waxed feeble and turns herself to flee. And fear is seized on her. Anguish and sorrows have taken her as a woman in travail. So you see, you got to tie Damascus into this, because the day that it becomes a ruinous heap, the day that is found no more, is the day that the nuclear war within that hour happens. How is the city of praise not left, the city of my joy? Therefore here her young men shall fall in her streets, and all the men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts is his weapons of his indignation, meaning the nuclear war. It's going to be a nuclear war, and this is what's going to trigger it. And I will kindle a fire in the wall of Damascus, and it shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad. So this war is coming. They got one more thing that they need to do before this war does break out, and that is to get almost everybody micro-C-hipped, you know. And like everything else, though, there's also going to be a famine of the word. We're not going to be able to teach all this if you see all the shit that's going on in the UK over freedom of speech and all that. Hey, that freedom of speech, so-called legend there that gives us the ability to go out there, that's going to be taken very soon. You know, you come against their narrative or whatever. A famine of the word will happen as this is all getting close, you know, and the MOTB will be made mandatory before this war breaks out. So hopefully this has been edifying, and for the longer version, you got the links down below. Then I will say, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadosh, Wa Abba Babal. Brakatham, Jehovah Elect, Shalom.